No pressure, but we understand that there's a lot of challenges going on out there with the hardship and all of that. So everybody, you may have to readjust your plans for the year. You may have to readjust your goals and all of that, because everybody's just trying to survive at this point now. But in all of this, don't lose focus. Don't lose focus, and don't forget to look out for someone. You just need one person, that you just hold each other's hands as you strive towards your success, as you strive towards achieving your goals. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. Time check right now is 7:42 a.m. It's time for us to look through the major stories trending on the front pages of our papers. But today being Monday, we have a tradition that every Monday we try to bring you up to speed as regards all of the major stories that trended over the weekend on Saturday and Sunday. If you're unable to join us on our Yoruba Trends in the Papers program, which of course highlights stories that are trended over the week. So let's see what we have from the weekend. Village head allegedly takes bribes from bandits and allows killings of 30 villagers. That's coming from the Katsina state government. That's rather scary. Also, we have here Kwara State Governor with new master plan on 20,000 hectare smart city. That's Governor Abdul Rahman Abdul Razak working out something huge for the people of Kwara State. Also, from Kano State now, Royal Rumble. Apparently, there's the conversation around the fact that this seems like more like a Kwakwanso Ganduje fight. But you can get all of that, on the front page of the Punch on Saturday. Panic as army vows crackdown on soldiers' killings or soldiers' killers that happened last week Thursday at the sit-at-home that happened in the southeast, and the fact that about five soldiers lost their lives, and now there's panic among some community members as regards the fact that the army is very, very, very upset as regards that. So army vows crackdown, so the community is in some sort of panic. Also, we have here oil, electricity, maritime, financial, and other critical sector unions. Well, will be going on strike today, and the federal government is saying, as regards the minimum wage conversation, if we are going to go with labor union proposal, which is 494,000. The federal government will be spending about 9.5 trillion naira annually. That is a serious concern on the part of the federal government, but Labour seems to be pushing ahead with that particular one. There's also now an update as regards that, the fact that the Attorney General and Minister of Justice of the Federation, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, yes, SAN, has already issued as regards the fact that the strike is immature and is illegal, citing a lot of citing from the Act 2004. But we'll see how that is going to pan out, as Labour is trying to get the attention of the president, trying to seek the president's intervention as regards this particular one, because the federal government is looking at the fact that the economy will be under serious threat if the strike goes on today. Also, we have the Nigerian government must immediately put an environmental remediation fund in place to deal with rising spill. It's unfortunate that Nostra is at the mercy of oil companies due to financial constraints. That's coming from Chima Williams, and that's as regards diversity compounding environmental injustice in Niger Delta. Serious issue, a serious cause for conversation. We'll definitely be looking deeper into that in the course of the week. And finally, from as regards major stories that trended over the weekend, why Nigerians should not panic over creation of state police. That's coming from Katsina State Governor Diko Umaru Rada. And also major story across all of the papers is the minimum wage negotiation. Let's go now into the stories trending for today. I will not be doing this alone. Fuhad Sahid will be joining the conversation via the phone line to give analysis to the stories that we're going to be looking at this morning. Okay, so we have our papers here with us. We have The Guardian, we have Vanguard, we have the Punch newspaper in no particular order. I will be analyzing the major stories of the front pages from now till 8:30. We'll take a break by 8:30 and we are back by 8:40 for Mainland Focus, where you get to be a part of the conversation and you drop your 2 cents as regards the focal points of the day. Once again, this is Mainland 98.3 FM, and you're welcome to Trends in the Papers. Good morning, Fuad. How are you doing?
Good morning, Sandra. I'm good. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. I'm well. I don't know. What's outside saying? You know, let me, that's Yoruba English. What's outside saying? What's it looking like?
Give me the answer. Well, it's a bit quiet, actually, I must say. It's a bit quiet. The feeling is a bit of apprehension. People are not sure of anything, really. Look at the mannerism, the look on the faces of Nigerians, Lagosians particularly. You could just see people who are wondering what's going to happen, what in all of these conversations as to strike or no strike. But as it is, Labour has said the strike starts today. That last minute attempt by the Senate, leadership of the National Assembly, of course, it did not go as planned. So Labour is insisting on going on strike today, and I think it has started. I've had to speak with a number of Lagosians today, not people outside of Lagos. I think the electricity workers. So I'm not sure, but from like 4 different locations in Lagos, I think sometime during the midnight, power was switched off. And so one is wondering whether electricity workers have joined. The floor situation we are not sure of yet, because again over the weekend it was reported that New Peng and FᴜΓᴜ will join. Public transport workers under NURC, we are not sure of it yet, because the number of public buses are still on the street. But again, a big disruption to business, a big disruption to the economy of the country. It's almost like a partial shutdown for now. We'll follow the events and see whether said that look, why it will commence will still go on as planned, despite the strike action. But I think aviation workers have also said they are going to join, electricity workers, the oil and gas workers. And like I said, for now, it's looking like a partial shutdown of the economy. We'll see whether it's going to be a total shutdown.
Thank you very much, Said Fuad. Let's move on now to the stories trending for today. I'll be kicking things off with the Punch newspaper as the major headline highlights the minimum wage conversation. AGF tackles Labour as National Assembly fails to stop strike. And we have a writer here that says AGF says planned strike violates court order. Federal government insists on 60,000 naira. So, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, has faulted the organized labor over the nationwide strike. It is starting today, Monday. And in a letter to the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress leaders dated 1st of June, he insisted that the strike over the new minimum wage was a violation of a subsisting National Industrial Court order that restrains the unions from grounding the nation through strike action. And he said this as a meeting was convened by the National Assembly on Sunday night, which failed to, achieve its objective, just as you've also highlighted earlier on. And the meeting was presided over by the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, who Fuad had put so much hope and trust in yesterday night as regards whether something good was going to come out. But unfortunately... Yes, well, don't go there, because yesterday you kept mentioning, we are hoping that the Senate President is going to do something about it.
Are we not living on hope? we keep reading our hope every day, so
every morning.
I thought there was.
Anyways, the meeting ended with a deadlock. There wasn't much achieved from that particular meeting. The Senate President was there, the Speaker of the House was there, NLC President Joe Ajaero was there, the TUC counterpart Festus Osifo was there as well, and nothing was done. Minister of State for Labour in Kiruka Ohinjocha, who at this point now I just feel some sort of sympathy for, but has affirmed that the government could not pay more than 60,000 naira, which she said represented a 100% increase on the current minimum wage conversation. But then on Sunday, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, of course, has to say something. The special advisor to the president on information and strategy.
In his usual way.
Yes, very important.
Look at what he said. Just read what he said.
He said the Labour leaders have an ulterior motive. Might have an ulterior motive.
Then you see the problem.
He stressed that the minimum wage offer they presented was unrealistic for both the federal and state governments. I took away something yesterday from Political Roundtable is the fact that there may be some, the fact that our government may be looking at this that this is political. Fuad, saying that. That's where I'm going, because here's Bayo Ononuga saying that Labour leaders might have an ulterior motive. I don't understand. But
the way his own is always different. The way he sees everything is just completely different from the way people see things. Again, Sandra, this tripartite committee was inaugurated in January by the vice president. And you remember that after the inauguration, consistently on this platform, we kept asking that question: why is the tripartite committee not meeting? Remember, February, when nothing happened. March, I think it was until the last week in April that we started hearing that the tripartite committee was meeting. And so the issue was, look, what was the commitment of government really to this minimum wage negotiation? If you set up a committee, I remember that Labour kept saying that, look, they are not sure government is really serious about this minimum wage negotiation. That, and you know that also on this platform we kept saying that, look, as at that point in January, it would have just been nice if the government was serious about these negotiations and said, look, this is what we are willing to pay. We kept saying, what is the government figure? Until the last minute, I think it was even into the negotiations late May that government came up with a position. I think we started with 54,000 or something, 48,000.
48.
And then it was moved to 54, and then we are talking about 60,000 now. So for Mr. Bayo Ononuga, what is the ulterior motive other than the fact that, look, organized labor has put up a demand, which was a valid negotiation. It was supposed to be a negotiation. And so how do you negotiate, and then the spokesperson or the special advisor on media to the president is saying that what could be the ulterior motive? That, you don't understand. What exactly is the ulterior motive? And these are the kinds of positions that we get from government that get people infuriated about the position of government to simple matters like minimum wage negotiation. How do you suddenly bring political coloration to the conversation? What could be the politics in all of this now? So you are saying Ukraine is playing politics, FᴜΓᴜ is playing politics, electricity workers are playing politics. All Nigerian workers that are concerned on this particular matter are also playing politics. Because again, you might say the labor leaders, let us even say the labor leaders want to play politics. But the way organized labor is structured in the country, their members are spread across the country, and there's no way all of them will be playing politics. It's about the welfare of Nigerian workers. What is the politics of that? So, but again, look at where we are now, Sandra. What is the way forward? I kept asking by Curtis yesterday, what the way forward is. That at the end of the day, there was no answer really, because it was like we are now between the devil and the deep blue sea. You see the labor people coming up with figures, explaining the reasons for their demand, and like I said consistently on the show, Sandra, that figure is not unreasonable, but it's unrealistic, because we know nobody's going to pay. Look, we already have governors who are already saying that even that 60,000 as proposed by the FD, they cannot pay. Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State has issued a statement saying, in my state, I can't even pay 60,000. So that's why I said that, look, immediately that tripartite committee was inaugurated, who would have thought that, look, the government, as represented by some of the governors, the federal government representative labor, organized labor, would have gone into those negotiations with some level of seriousness from day one, from the blast of the whistle, start serious negotiations, open-minded negotiations.
Joe Ajayi also mentioned the fact that key stakeholders were not even had not been present in this negotiation for some time. Governors, were not stated. Authoritative. Well, let me not say authoritative, because the Minister of State for Labour, exactly. She was the only one. She was the only one that was there. We don't have a Minister of Labour. Simon Along has become a member of the House, and since then nothing has been done as regards that particular one. So there's it's a little bit discouraging to Labour, saying that we don't even know who have we been talking to as regards this particular.
And look at the leadership of the National Assembly. So suddenly they realize that there's a negotiation somewhere, because there was an impending strike action for today. So suddenly, out of the blue, they just understood that, there's going to be a problem if this minimum wage negotiation is not resolved. And so they have to jump into it. And if you look at them,
carry on.
Just one, Sandra.
Okay, let's quickly look at Lateef Fagbemi. Okay. No.
Okay, Lateef Fagbemi. Let's take Lateef Fagbemi. Fine, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Let's just quickly look at Lateef Fagbemi here, coming in with the fact that he's saying the strike is premature. And he cited quite a lot, from the Trade Union Dispute Act 2004 as regards, 15-day notice and so many other things that it's fundamental for them to, put that out. And also the fact that there's an industrial court action, injunction rather, currently going on that, the nation should not be shut down. And, he said a lot. Let's look at it. He wished to say, I wish to note, I'm quoting, that this latest declaration of strike by organized labor is premature at a time when the federal government and other stakeholders are involved in the tripartite committee on the determination of a new national minimum wage had not declared an end to the negotiation. That's one forward. He's saying that as long as negotiation is still ongoing, and there wasn't a need for labor
a negotiation that is ongoing with so much level of unseriousness.
All right.
You don't negotiate with that level of disdain and unseriousness and expect labor to just hold their arms. Okay, so the negotiation should go on till when? Till 2027.
To the end of the negotiation.
Which negotiation now? A negotiation that even major stakeholders are not attending the meeting. You don't understand what I'm saying. You said this negotiation is still ongoing, but labor is looking at the negotiation and think, look, you guys are just playing jokes. You are playing games with us. It's ongoing truly, but to what extent is the negotiations being taken seriously by people that are supposed to take it seriously? The timing is poor, the mannerism is poor, the offer is poor, and more ridiculous is the fact that at every point when labor decides to use the most potent tool available to organize labor, you come with all of these threats of court action. That is even the most ridiculous part of the conversation. And I know that labor leaders are not going to kowtow to that threat now. All of these threats are not going to. Look, the reality is that let us say tomorrow or today it's announced that all labor leaders have been arrested. Because again, there's also a threat of 6 months jail term and blah blah blah. You think can they arrest all the workers and send all of them to jail? Because the leadership is representing the larger population of Nigerian workers. Okay, let's say you arrest Joe Ajero and Osifo now and you send them to jail. So what are you going to do to other workers who have also decided to be a part of the strike? It's about their welfare, for God's sake.
All right.
Let's also look at the government should show some goodwill, so show some seriousness. I've not seen that seriousness for the part of government.
Now, okay, that's as regards negotiation, which, all right, we've already had a conversation. There seems to be no end to. Because since January there's been a lot of back and forth, and I think we can remember how many times they've actually sat as this committee. I don't think they've come together more than 5 times, but that's not the focus. And let's also look at the fact that AGF Fagbemi is saying that they didn't follow due process in declaring a labor strike, that there's supposed to be a mandatory strike notice of a minimum of 15 days. What? The notice that was given some 2 weeks or so ago, can't that count, as a strike notice?
Remember that
I think on 1st of May, they announced that if nothing is done by 31st of May, that they will go.
That's almost a month's notice.
That's 30 days.
So maybe that lawyers are going to come up with different answers.
Okay.
They might tell you that a verbal notice is not substantial. You write a letter. I'm not started the notice. Those kind of things.
Okay.
But whether there's notice or no notice, I'm saying that now that labor leaders have decided to go on strike, are they going to arrest all of them and send them to jail? Is that what the government is trying to do? And does that solve any problem? But I'm saying that government should get serious about this negotiation. It's just about getting serious. Look at what the Edo State governor has done, for example, Sanders. And to a great extent, the labor leaders in Edo State seem to have accepted this offer. Remember that some of them celebrated that offer, even though they are still demanding for more, better welfare package. But the 70,000 naira offer from the governor of Edo State seems to be okay for workers in Edo State. At least the labor union leaders in Edo State, some to a great extent accepted that offer. And you have the federal government now coming up with different calculations. You cannot do this, you cannot do that, and then people are. The unfortunate thing, Sandra, is that the people that are telling Nigerian workers that it's unreasonable, it's unrealistic, to demand for these kinds of payments and what have you, salary, are the same set of people who have the most ridiculous emoluments and salary awarded to themselves. When I say ridiculous, if you even gauge their productivity, what they contribute to nation building, it does not in any way justify the amount of money we are paying them. But what have they been doing? Let us aggregate what the political class collect as salaries, emoluments, and what have you, all manner of things that go to them, and gauge what we have been able to do with our democracy. You ask yourself, is there any justification in what we pay them? The National Assembly, for example, sits 3 days in a week. Half of the time, some of them are absentee legislators, they don't even come. When some of them come, they just sit down there sleeping off, dozing off. And these are people who get 15 million, 30 million every month, apart from the other ones that we don't know about. But then for Nigerian workers, oh, there's no money to pay. It's only when it concerns the welfare of the people, there's no money. And then the next thing is to cause inflation. But buying of SUVs, misappropriation of funds, reckless allocation of resources to the political class will not cause inflation. That one can never cause inflation.
All right, 3 minutes past 8. You're listening to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. We're currently on the front page of the Punch, talking about minimum wage and all of the, the tripartite issue here. First is the fact that Labour is insists on going on with the strike.
The strike has started.
Second is the AGF trying, of course, which is expected of, the AGF is the Attorney General of the Federation, so it also has to exactly, and it's quite an interesting one. You may want to dig deeper into that. On page 2 of the Punch. And finally, of this tripartite conversation is the Minister of State for Labour, or Minister of Labour for State, or State for Labour, in Tʀᴇɪᴅs Iṛ is saying that, the President has been very compassionate. Look at all the palliatives, all the intervention that we've been doing just to make sure things are fine. Palliatives, they shared rice for
even the President that released money to the governor. On Thursday, we said it yesterday, you listen to the soundbite of the President. He's bothered that the governors are not doing enough. The President is even sounding helpless, now begging pressure groups to call the governors to ensure people really feel the impact of governance. He said, look, I've made all efforts to raise revenue. I'm giving the governors what belongs to them, their dues, they're getting it. But look, I am troubled at the number of IDP camps in the country. He knows that there's excruciating poverty, and the governors are not pulling enough weight to solve the problem. So what's the minister saying? The governor and the president himself knows that, look, all attempts at tackling poverty using palliatives and this idea of tokenism and what have you is not working. The political class is just feeding fat on those avenues. Nobody is feeling anything. What has happened? Okay, the 2 billion that was given to the governors, what happened to it? Did anybody get anything? Consistently for how many months now they've been sharing over ₦1 trillion at the level of government? What has been the impact on the lives of ordinary people?
All right. Thank you very much, Fuad. Ms. Tʀᴇɪᴅs Iṛ is stating that the president, or the government rather, would not stop other social programs just to please Labour. That the government needs money to do a lot.
It's like the social intervention. The same interventions that has led Sadiya Farouk to now find a way to account for 37 billion allegedly. The same social intervention that has led Betta Edu in trouble. The government is still insistent on social interventions, whereas the real things are solving problems they don't want to do. The same social interventions that have been set full of corruption, as identified already, by the way the ministers are running into trouble. If social interventions are not going to work, Nigerians want real solutions to real problems, not cosmetic solutions to real problems.
Right.
All of this dancing of money, sharing of money are just cosmetic solutions and will not solve any problem. And we know this, you can't continue to do the same thing the same way and expect a different result. What has been the result of sharing money, throwing money at things that we've done in the past? And we still want to continue on that, and because of that, Labour to drop his demand for real solutions to their real problems. Let us start to see. Look at the cost of living. You know when we say this, we think we are overstating the obvious. If you look at the cost of living in Nigeria now, Sandra, what it takes for the average family to feed themselves, not balanced diet, just put something in the stomach. You understand why I keep saying that Labour's demand is not unreasonable, but it might be unrealistic based on our realities as a people. But if you look at the reality of what it takes the average family to feed themselves, Sandra, Labour's demand is not unreasonable.
Well, according to our federal government, they believe that Labour may be living in a world different from reality. The truth is no director in the ministry
what is the reality
that
of
kind of money. Well,
okay, what is the reality of our political class? The reality of people that want to buy SUVs at 160 million naira each. The reality of people that want to use 6 billion to build car parks. The reality of people that want to renovate houses with 5 billion naira. Is that their own reality?
That's the particular statement is coming from Bayo Onanuga. Anyways, I just had to quickly just highlight that, saying that.
But what is the reality of ordinary Nigerians now, Sandra? The reality of ordinary Nigerians is that, look, from 185 naira now, we are made to buy fuel per liter, PMS per liter now at over 600 naira per liter. The reality of Nigerians at this time is that, look, a paint bucket of garri that used to be around 400 naira now is costing over 4,000 naira. The reality of Nigerians at this time is that a bag of rice that used to be 35 naira now is over 80,000 naira per bag. The reality of the ordinary Nigerians at this time is that you can't even beans, ordinary beans again. The reality of Nigerians is that now for you to cook a decent meal for soup, you need more than 5,000 naira for pepper alone. So what is he saying?
All right. Thank you very much, Said Fuad. 8 minutes past 8, and we are still on Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM. It's a very, very long read. They're saying a whole lot. Labour is saying this. Pengassan also has something to say. The federal government saying that. The AGF is saying this. Bayo Onanuga is also saying plenty of things. You can get all of that on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. We can't really dig deep into that, but I trust that Okwemi Akinode will do justice to it much later on in the Situation Room by 4 p.m. Moving on now, still on the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have here CBN clears $830 million foreign airlines trapped funds. Woohoo! And that's on that's coming from IATA, and that story is on page 23. All right, because this conversation has been going on for a year or two now. All right, and finally on the front page, okay, no, there's something else here. All right, we also have here 24,535 candidates are to retake UTME on June 22, as that's come from JAM, and that's on page 9. Now, just by the masthead, we also have here Genco's threatened shutdown as debt hits 3.7 trillion naira. It's all right. That is also on the front page.
You know the meaning of that?
Now let's.
No, it's blackout. If Genco shut down, they are the ones that are generating the power.
Everywhere.
So that's blackout for the country. I don't know how we are going to solve the problem of debt that's accumulated for the Genco. I think what the government will probably try to do now is to look for some form of installmental payment, just bit by bit, pay these things off. But the problem is that, look, even when you try to pay what is being owed, the debt still keeps accumulating. And people are talking about the fact that, look, government is still subsidizing. The reality of this story is still the fact that, look, government is saying that, look, for them to be able to really take care of the financial needs of the power sector, the subsidy on electricity has to go. It's one big conversation that, could throw the country into some form of chaos again, because one of the demands of Labour is the reverse of that tariff increment in the power sector. Whereas the government is saying that, look, we need to even increase more. We need to get more people on the band A business system, so that we can make enough money really to take care of the needs and investments in the power sector. It's one conversation that I think we are not having enough that could trade the country into some form of chaos if not properly handled.
Well, power generating companies have declared that the sector's indebtedness to companies that produce electricity is now 3.7 trillion, and that is a threat to further production. So what we have now is Gencos are currently being owed over 2 trillion naira for the power that they are generated and then put on the national grid, and that is being consumed by end users. And this addition to the over 1.7 trillion naira funding gap that was created in the recent supplementary MYTO order 2024, which doesn't have a designated fund to fill that gap. So this huge debt outlay is now greatly inhibiting Genco's ability to meet their obligation to lenders, necessary maintenance, spare parts procurement, employee-related commitments, and so many other things. And just as Fuad has also highlighted, there's just a lot in this particular one.
There's fire on the mountain.
Yes, it's all right. So help us God. And the story is on page 24 of the Punch newspaper. And that's what we're taking off the front page of the Punch. This is the mainland 98.3 FM. There's trends in the papers. Let's see what we have on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. And that is fiscal policy and tax reforms. New national tax template excites private sector and unsettles states. So let's see what we have here. It's on page 6. We have riders from that particular report. Oyedele's committee, that's the tax reform committee, chaired by Taiwo Oyedele, pushes for single national tax system and harmonization. The committee to reduce number of taxes to 9 and remove non-state actors. Committee seeks executive orders to push through reforms proposals. And finally, fundamental changes need legislative amendment, says Yusuf. So the push by the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms for radical changes in the country's tax administration system may stoke a political conflict between the federal and state government in the coming months. And this conversation started sometime last week, where there were some proposals being pushed forward. I don't know if you remember, Fuad, which was also one of our focal points, I think, on Friday. So now what we have from this is that they are seeking a single window national tax template that will collapse the number of collectible taxes to a single digit, while streamlining the collection process. Its working documents have suggested. So a single digit tax will require that state government should collapse their own number of taxes, at most 9, just as the planned harmonization could also strip state governors of the power of discretion in the number of taxes, collection process, and mode of payment, which is different from the sore point in the fluid fiscal federalism debate. Aside from this proposal last week as regards the fact that we should have one revenue collection system, that was also part of what they proposed sometime last week from the same committee, where we have FIRS and then we have LIRS. So we just have one, and then everybody just pays to that particular one. So with this now, with a single tax template now forward, federal government, state government face off. We are still looking at local government autonomy conversation. There's still a face off. Now we have another one.
No, this one, like every other thing, will not happen. The governors are not going to allow it.
Okay.
And it can't be done by executive order. You have to amend the constitution. And in amending
you need
the
state's houses of assembly.
Even if you scale it, if you are able to scale through this
whether it will be enforced or not.
No. At the same level, it does die natural. Most of the governors are not going to buy into it.
That's tragic.
In a lot of us think the president has a lot of influence. He could weave some of these governors to line to buy some of these ideas and what have you. Again, this is just a recommendation from the tax reform committee, and it doesn't mean all recommendations really are going to scale through, or because again, at the end of the day, to be subjected to all manner of analysis and review at the political level. And if you look at the capacity of our governors, the way they wield their influence, when it comes to politics and decision making, I doubt that some of these recommendations, maybe some of them will fly. For example, the idea of 800 naira calculation for import duty,
customs,
and for the next 6 months, maybe that can fly. But this idea of having a tax system, collection system, that takes away the arbitrariness of imposing taxes at the state level, I don't think governors are going to buy into it, because again, it's about revenue for them. You understand what I'm saying? So I think these are just mere suggestions that it's not eventually see the light of the day. If you look at the peculiarities of Nigeria and the fact that the governors are not going to buy into that kind of idea. I think there was even a problem with was it FAT? The Rivers State government took the federal government to court and won at the end of the day. So I doubt if it's going to scale through really. Brilliant recommendations, I must say, from Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, again, to have a structured tax system for the country. He also talked about tax exemption for businesses, for small scale businesses, medium-sized businesses, and what have you. And I said that, look, that's at variance really with this policy of government that when you drive. So where the convergence is going to come, I don't know. But again, I think he has just done his own job professionally to make these recommendations from will be implemented or not, we'll have to wait to see.
All right. Thank you very much, Fuad. Well, what we have now is that the fact that the federal government, or we're looking at states to stay off tax collection, this could, one way or the other, spark some sort of intergovernmental crisis.
I think it won't happen, Sandra. It will not happen. Or it cannot happen. Let's just brilliant recommendations, I must say again, so that we can have a more structured business environment. You know, you have certainty, you have clarity as a business owner. That's why you can see that one of the advice, the right, I say, those recommendations excite the private sector people. Because it comes with some level of clarity. You know, multiplicity of taxes does not help businesses, it kills businesses. But would it fly? I doubt it, Sandra.
All right, so you can get more details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. The Director General of the Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise, Dr. Muda Yusuf, said the major reforms would necessarily be delivered through legislative amendments. Using federal machinery to collect taxes would make for better efficiency. However, some levies and taxes collected by state and local government may not conveniently be collected by FIRS. If it is not in line, if they can reduce the number significantly, to be a good start and all of that. But what is important is that it will lead to improved revenue coming to the state. If the governors know they will gain something from somewhere, even if they lose in another area, they will support it. It will be an incentive to support the reforms. That's what that's the angle that he's coming from. That maybe he should highlight what they also stand to gain in another way. Maybe they could also go with
buy into the idea.
Exactly. The story is on page 6, as mentioned earlier. Let's move on now. Still on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, we have here, adamant Labour begins strike as National Assembly truce meeting fails. Also on page 6 of the Guardian. We also have here Obasanjo, a very interesting statement.
Yeah, interesting, very nice. Interesting comment from Obasanjo.
Nigeria lacks transformational leaders. I don't know why I said that like that, but just take it.
I think interesting comment. I read you this morning. I was like, oh, really?
So, former President Olusegun Obasanjo has expressed concern over the current state of affairs in Nigeria and Africa, saying most of the challenges facing the territory are caused by the absence of visionary and committed leaders who occupy elective positions. He noted that for Nigeria and other African countries to command respect on the global stage, they must invest in a new generation of leaders that will lead by showing love to their people, even in times of adversity. He said, and I quote, "Whatever resource we have, if we are devoid of leadership, it won't get us anywhere. That is why leadership in Africa is very important. We can't create an Africa of hope, prosperity, devoid of conflicts and insecurity, where leaders don't have a vision." While he observed that the leadership challenge greatly affects Nigeria, Obasanjo argued that most of Nigerian politicians who were elected into public offices lacked other means of survival. Hence, they saw joining politics as a breakthrough. Look at that.
So, which one should we pick now? He has said so many things, wrapped into one.
Hey, let's start with the fact that we don't have absence of visionary leaders. No, because tying it together, Fuad, is it we don't have visionary and committed leaders who occupy elective positions? And also look at the fact that he's saying that most of the people who are elected into office, they come in because they don't have any other means of survival. So all their means of livelihood, source of income, everything is from these politics. So probably, do you think maybe their vision is let's just make money and get out of here?
The vision of the stomach.
It's just so that's their vision. Not for the country.
It's difficult really to fault or disagree with former President Obasanjo. You know, again, that's in taking the message and leaving the message. If you understand, but all of what he has said, there's no way you are going to argue what the former president has said. Look, if you had visionary leadership, the country cannot be like this now. Standard. How can the country be like this? You disagree that indeed we are lacking of visionary leadership. That's the fact now. Because of lack of vision, that's why we are in this mess. How would you argue with the former president or disagree with him that we lack visionary leaders when an oil producing nation does not have one functional refinery? Sandra, how would you disagree with the former president that we lack visionary leadership and committed leadership when a country that is blessed with 44 solid mineral resources spread across 500 different locations in the country has more than 70% of the population face with multi-dimensional poverty? Can you argue that? How would you argue, Sandra, with the former president that we lack visionary leadership when there's this level of excruciating poverty, infrastructure deficit, and then you have an over-bloated political class who only take care of themselves without looking at the bigger picture? So he has said the right thing. We lack visionary leadership, and that's why some of us believe that our failed electoral process has enabled the worst of us to get into positions to rule the best of us. Look at the quality of leadership we have in the country, Sandra. The thinking process, the commitment to nation building, the intelligence that comes with implementation of policies. You will know that indeed we lack visionary leadership. This is a leadership that is so far from the truth. A leadership that is so far from the reality of Nigeria. A leadership that is only good at making promises without any intention and commitment to implementing their promises. So I agree with former President Olusegun Obasanjo indeed that we lack visionary leadership. And indeed the people we have, mostly in the political sphere, circle at this time, are just people who go there for the things they can get. But again, we need to ask ourselves, when the Olusegun Obasanjo had the opportunity to create a vision for Nigeria, what did he do? Because he was also.
I thought we are. let's go forward. Let's move forward. Let's stay focused. Let's move forward. Yes.
It's just a question now.
No, I know it's just a question, but I just feel like, yes, if the foundation be destroyed and all of that, but the truth of the matter is we are where we are now due to past decisions and all of that. But we are here now. How can we move forward?
I'm just having a conversation, and people will say that if you don't know where you are coming from, you might not know where you are going.
It's part of
where you are.
It's part of the pause and reflect. It's part of pause and reflect.
That's what I'm saying. Now when somebody bashubu ashikini awowaju, kabalagba bashubu ashikini awenyu. As a country, we need to ask ourselves, where are we coming from? How did we get where we are? Where are we now, so that we know where we are going? But I agree with what you have said. The message, spot on, fantastic message. You can't even dispute that message. You can't argue that message.
What about what he said here? Sorry to take you off a bit. He said that one of the things that was a little bit of a misfortune for us in this country is oil. Now, oil has been a big, huge misfortune for us because, number one, it made us to abandon agriculture. All right. Saying that agriculture is a renewable asset while oil is a waste asset. So we need to there's a important need for us to look back to agriculture.
Again, in trying to break down this message, it's important that we say this. The same oil that became a misfortune to Nigeria because of lack of visionary leaders is the same oil that some nations in the world have used to transform the fortunes of their country from underdeveloped to now developed nations of the world. Is it not the same oil that the UAE has used to transform the fortunes of their country? Is it not the same oil that Qatar has used to transform the fortunes of their country? Is it not the same oil that Saudi Arabia is using money to play? Saudi Arabia is just playing with money now. It's throwing money around. Is it not the same oil? It's a issue.
So
oil cannot be. Yes, I'm with you.
So it's still just on the same premise of the fact that lack of vision, lack of commitment from our leaders.
We're trying to look back again. Maybe we'll take it beyond 1999. There are questions we have refused to ask ourselves. Again, maybe it's an unwritten agreement amongst our leaders that we should not ask our past leaders questions as to how they handle the country. The 8 years of former head of state Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, that was the period of the Gulf oil windfall, where countries in the world, oil producing nations in the world, made humongous wealth for their country. And it was at that time, go and check, the Asian tigers you know, the Qatars of this world, those Middle East giants. That those were the period that they transformed themselves into the superpowers of the global economy. That's Gulf oil windfall. Where is the money? What did we do with it? What did we do with the Gulf oil windfall? And then you take it further. Like I said, they just didn't show them out of it because that was just a temporary arrangement. And then 5 years of Abacha. Just imagine, Sandra. All those monies Abacha stole and kept in different parts of the world. That they are now returning to us in peace and meal, in bits and pieces. Imagine what would have happened, the time value of money. What we could have done as a people with all of those monies Abacha was stealing and keeping outside of the country. Do you know why Abacha's stolen wealth has become a public issue? It's because he's dead. It's because he's dead.
All right.
Maybe those ones that are alive now, we are not able to dig into what they did because they are still able to conceal what they did. And then 1999, from 1999 to date, from Olusegun Obasanjo, okay, what was the vision of Obasanjo for 8 years? To the extent that when he was leaving, the top 10 conversation came in. And then Yaradua, God bless his soul, to Goodluck Jonathan, to Buhari 8 years, and now this government. Where are the visionary leaders? Because Obasanjo must also add himself to the conversation of lack of visionary leadership. That's what I'm saying. But I agree with his message.
All right, thank you very much, Father. That's a wrap on that particular one. I appreciate, the fact that former President Olusegun Obasanjo is saying the most important thing for politicians in the Nigerian context is that they must have a second address. If you are going to be a successful politician, you must have a second address, and this means have another means of livelihood. A politician that has no second address will stand for anything without having no morality.
People are going to argue that. You know that in the US, advanced societies, we have career politicians. That's what they just do. But they live within their means, Sandra. They live within their means.
And no, don't you think that as regards the fact that campaigns are being monitored? Do you think maybe our electoral process should also be looked into? The fact that over there they source for campaign funds. You don't have to.
And they don't give anybody money to win election.
Exactly, you source for the people are the ones that if the people want you, they will support you. With campaign funds. Unlike here, the people sit back and then you come. And then you know
why
you win. And
do you know why the electoral process in Nigeria is heavily monetized? Because of lack of performance. And the same politicians that are blaming people collecting money weaponize poverty as a political tool, make them poor. They get very vulnerable. So on election day or before election, just give them money. They'll be willing to sell their vote. So the reason why we monetize election in the country is because our political class consistently have weaponized poverty. To make the people more vulnerable, to be able to buy their vote. So who do we blame?
Hi. Thank you very much, said Fuad. That's a wrap for Trends in the Papers for today. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, it will be time for Mainland Focus, where you, our dear listener, get to be a part of the conversation. Drop your own submissions as regards, the conversation currently ongoing. Okay. Thanks, Fuad. Please be on standby.
Thank you.
Okay. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. Please stay tuned.
You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. The sound of Lagos.
What takes a plate of jollof rice to the next level of goodness? Is it when it is cooked with non-seasoning cubes for that sumptuous taste? Or when you serve it with correct